This summer I was able to go to the University of Edinburgh and meet with the Principal and Vice Chancellor, Peter Matheson. We spoke about the role of the liberal arts in higher education. It was a very exciting trip.
The liberal arts education, the general concept, has been an interest of mine for some years, partly because the job I did before I came to this one was working in Hong Kong, which at that time was, Hong Kong and other bits of Asia were exploring the sort of liberal arts approach, and the most visible manifestation of that was Yale NUS. But we were doing it in Hong Kong as well, at a time when liberal arts education was being challenged in the US for its value for money and its graduate outcomes. So that was an interesting timing. The University of Edinburgh is old. It's the 6th oldest university in the English-speaking world, founded in 1583. You could say that the old universities in the UK did adopt a liberal arts type approach. It was never really called that, but the idea of residential accommodation, residential education, and a broad range of subject matter rather than just a single specialisation is not a new concept here. In Scotland, the undergraduate degree is 4 years, whereas in the rest of the UK it's 3. And so Scottish universities are rather proud of their age and the fact that they have a bit more space in their curriculum for some of these more general aspects. And as you know, we're in the process of reforming our undergraduate curriculum here and trying to be really radical, thinking about what should a modern university, albeit on an ancient background, be thinking about for its graduates for tomorrow, and how much of that can be served by liberal arts principles.
I'm curious how you think of, if you're really successful, how the students will be different. What will their experience be that's different if you're very successful on infusing some more liberal arts or holistic thinking, critical thinking into the education here?
So I'll answer the question, but I'll start off by answering it in a slightly sort of flippant way, which is that the first requirement is not to screw up something that's 430 odd years old. So this university has been producing superb graduates and sending them off around the world for hundreds of years, and we mustn't neglect that. I'm very conscious of the history. On the other hand, we know that our graduates of today are emerging into a very changing world, very flexible world, where none of our graduates, with the possible exception of some of the professional programs, none of them really know what jobs they're going to or where they're going to be 10 years after they graduate or 20 years after they graduate. So the requirement to think about providing generic skills that will adapt as the world adapts is something that we feel is really quite important now. And so that's the thinking really. It's not that we can predict the future, but we want to equip people with skills that we anticipate will be helpful for them as they adapt to however the world changes.
Yeah, and you think those skills will emerge from some more liberal arts? What will it be about the way it's taught or the content of what you're teaching that will equip them with the skills we hope will sail them through their lives?
I mean, I don't know the exact detail of what we will end up with. I know some of the principles that are feeding into it. We like the American system of majors and minors. Now, whether we ended up calling it that or not, I'm not sure. But one thing we did in Hong Kong was to try and provide general education to everybody. So irrespective of what your specialization was, there would be some aspects of general education that everyone would get. Things like communication skills, problem solving, ethics, history, politics, culture, these kinds of things are relevant, in my opinion, to every subject area and every graduate. We're trying to think what are the minimum requirements, because clearly our curricula are already very packed, and if we're going to bring in some new stuff, then something else has got to go. Otherwise you're just asking people to do more and more, and that's impossible. And so that kind of rationalization of what must stay in and what could we bring in that's the same for everybody, I think is a really interesting process. So what will success look like? Our graduates will leave this place feeling better equipped for the future than they currently do. And they're not telling us they don't feel equipped, but we're trying to make sure that we anticipate the skills they might need and the skills that the world might need.